all by myself. You're here. Are you really back? How? Who? What? I thought you left me for the Loop show. You're here. You're here. Woo! I wonder if part of the reasons why video games are so popular are because they tap into something we all hope to be true. That no matter how much we mess up, we can start over. In a video game, you can mess up as many times as you want and everything restarts. Sometimes it's frustrating to go all the way back to the beginning, but at least you know you can try again. Sometimes we mess up and we do get a second chance, but there are consequences. Today we're going to learn about David. And David, we know him as a man who had the faith to take down lions with his own hands, to kill a giant with stones. He led the army, he waited on God, he did amazing things. And you would think that a man this godly would continue to level up and continue to grow and continue to beat the big bosses. But David made a mistake. Well, not even a mistake. David made a bad choice. David's choice affected the lives of so many people. But the Bible's not a fairy tale. Not all our heroes are perfect. Actually, none of them other than Jesus were perfect. They all made big mistakes. David was supposed to go to war with all the kings when the time of kings went to war, like during the year. It was like, hey, everybody went to war now. And David stayed home. And David was hanging out. And David gave in to lust. He saw Bathsheba. He took Bathsheba, forced an affair on her, got her pregnant, then decided, I'm going to cover this up. I'm going to kill her husband and then make Bathsheba marry me so no one knows I made a mistake. Uriah's wife heard that her husband was dead. She mourned over him. And when her time of sadness was over, David had brought her to his house. She became his wife, and she had a son by him. But the Lord was not pleased with what David had done. If you imagine the story as a video game, David kept on beating the big bosses, but then the final boss shows up. And it's himself and his own desires. And David lost. David may have lost, but God did not leave him there. God sent one of David's friends, who is a prophet, Nathan, to give him a message that probably was not exactly the most comfortable message. Nathan used a story to help David understand how much he had messed up. He used this story. He said, once upon a time, there was a rich man who had lots of sheep. Like so many sheep he couldn't count. Sheep covering hills and so many sheep, like his house sounded like ba, ba, ba all the time. And then next to him was a poor man who had one sheep. One fluffy little female sheep that he loved, that was his pet, that he ate at the table with, that he had next to his bed. Like he slept with the sheep as like a fluffy little dog. It was his favorite animal. It was his best friend. The rich man had a visitor. The visitor came and he wanted to feed his guests. So the rich man took the poor man's sheep, killed it, and fed it to his friend. Well, this story made David so mad, and this is what the Bible says. David was very angry with the rich man. He said to Nathan, the man who did this must die, and that's just as sure as the Lord is alive. The man must pay back 4 times as much as the lamb was worth. How could he do such a thing? And he wasn't even sorry he had done it. Then Nathan said to David, you are the man. The Lord, the God of Israel, says, I anointed you king over Israel. I saved you from Saul. I gave you everything that belonged to your master Saul. I even put his wives into your arms. I made you king over all the people of Israel and Judah. And if all that had not been enough for you, I would have given you even more. Why did you turn your back on what I told you to do? You did what was evil in my sight. You made sure that Uriah the Hittite would be killed in battle. You took his wife to be your own. You let the men of Ammon kill him with their swords. So time after time, member of your own royal family will be killed with swords. That is because you turned your back on me. You took the wife of Uriah the Hittite, to be your own." Then David said to Nathan, "I have sinned against the Lord." Nathan replied, "The Lord has taken your sin away. You are not going to die." I hate this story, but it is in the Bible, and it is in the Bible for a reason, because it makes sure we know that people mess up. Even godly people mess up. And the consequences of leadership messing up on this level affect so many people. David had made a big mistake, and Nathan wanted David to know this. Nathan wanted David to know how big of a mess he had made, and David couldn't fix it alone. David needed God's help. God didn't leave David alone in this shame. God spared David's life, gave him forgiveness, but even in that forgiveness, he still had to face the consequences for his choices. God won't leave us alone. God will give us a restart, but we also have to face the consequences of our choices sometimes. And sometimes the people around us have to face the consequences of our choices. Just like Bathsheba and David's family did, they were affected by David's choice. David felt like his life was one big game over. The mistake David made affected other people around him, but God's forgiveness was bigger than David's choice. Maybe you felt similar to David. Maybe you did something and you thought, okay, that's game over. I've hurt other people. I've hurt myself. That's it. No more chances. But this is what's unique about God. When we feel like everything is over, when we feel like we don't deserve a second chance, God is there ready to hit the restart button. And what God did in David's life is true to us. He can give us a fresh start, and he can help us rebuild after we've made bad choices. Some of the things that help us rebuild is listen to trusted family and friends. Do you know those people who are living life and whose lives look like something you want to live, who are peaceful and calm and godly? If they are telling you something, listen. Listen to their advice, or go ask them their advice. Take time to absorb the answers and the advice that they give you. You can also, and this one's hard, admit that you've done wrong. I mean, God already knows that we make mistakes. God already knew that we are going to make mistakes before we make mistakes. So it's not a shocking factor when we admit to him that we did something wrong. But it is us creating space for God to come in and fix things, to fix our heart, to fix situations. And it's also opening our heart to receive the instruction that God's trying to give us. And the last thing, trust that God can give us a restart. Shame is so loud. It is screaming in our head when we make a mistake. But what shame is telling you is never true. God does not give us shame. God tells us what we've done wrong, but he never shames us. God is there. He's waiting to offer us forgiveness. And if you've never accepted that forgiveness from God, you can do that now. You can easily say, okay, God, I made a mistake. I need your help. I need your forgiveness. Please help me make it right. When you do that, he comes in and he gives you a fresh start. Your eternal consequences are gone. You are forever forgiven. And he gives you the strength to repair the consequences around you. Just like David, God didn't erase everything that he did on earth. He still had to clean up his mess. But he had the strength from God to do that. And he can do the same thing for you. Because when you feel like a failure, God helps you restart.